very healthy except for breathing. I mean, my blood sugar is normal, my lipid profile is really good. I always worked out. I started working out in 1990. I was diagnosed in 2000. And there were hints. For example, I did very well in weightlifting. I could lift weights and make progress. But when I was on the treadmill, I couldn't go more than 3.0, 3.5, and I'd get out of breath. And when I first started with gym, my trainer had me do treadmill and weights at the same time. So I would be on the treadmill and doing weights overhead and weights on the side. And then I couldn't do, then I had a rest. I had a rest between the weights. I couldn't just, and then I couldn't do the weights at all. And I couldn't get by, 3.0 or 3.5. And it didn't dawn on me that anything was wrong. I just said, well, I guess I can't go fast. In the 80s, and I was diagnosed in 2000, in the 80s, I walked the Brooklyn Bridge with two of my girlfriends. And the Brooklyn Bridge has hills, and when we would get to a hill, I would fall behind. Had no idea that anything was wrong, wasn't on oxygen, wasn't diagnosed, going to the gym, and I just fell behind, and I just accepted, well, I just can't go fast. Well, I started, with sporadic, but it was in the 50s, and smoking was in style, and everybody smoked on television, and the warning wasn't on the pack, and my father smoked, and I thought it was cool. But by the time I stopped, I was 4 packs a day, and I was working as a copywriter, and everybody chain smoked. I mean, there were ashtrays and secondhand smoke all over the place, and the buyers would come up and smoke, and I smoked like a chimney. And when I quit, and I quit dramatically, but I was very young. I was only 22 when I quit. I was on vacation, and I was a very strong swimmer as a young girl. I was on a swim team, and I swam laps, and I was in New Hampshire, and there was a dock and a raft, and it was very short distance. And I just decided to jump off the dock and swim to the raft, and in the middle of the swim, I got out of breath, and I thought I was drowning, and I panicked, and I dragged myself back to the ladder, and I was on the dock, and this was dramatic. I threw my cigarettes away. I was 22 years old. It was August of my 22nd year, and I never smoked again. But I was diagnosed 35 years later, and I was short of breath. I just thought I was safe because I stopped smoking at 22, and I thought I was safe. And when I went to Switzerland, and I was a downhill skier, and I would get out of breath skiing downhill, but lots of people get out of breath when they ski downhill, and downhill skiing is very easy because you're going with gravity, so you don't really need a lot of breath. You just need coordination, and I loved skiing. But when I went to Norway in 1973, I met some Norwegians, and we went cross-country skiing together, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't go more than a few minutes without being totally out of breath. So it told me, in retrospect, after I was diagnosed, that I've had this since I was 22. The diagnosis was severe obstruction. And then, only then, did they send me for the CAT scan, which is an immediate diagnosis. You can tell from a CAT scan. And it was emphysema. And I was finally diagnosed. This was December of 2000. So I was sent right away to pulmonary rehab, which was educational. I had already been going to gym, so I was ahead of the game. I was strong, I had good muscles, and I live in a 5-floor walk-up. Exercise. Exercise gives you a lease on life. I had already been in shape, and I think that I maintain my level. I have not deteriorated at all since I've been diagnosed. I was diagnosed at the top of stage 3. 45 to 50% of predicted that my lungs, that's the way my lungs work. And I really haven't deteriorated. I'm active, I go on hikes, but I take oxygen with me when I go on hikes. I take oxygen with me when I walk. I take oxygen with me when I go on the subway and walk up and down the stairs and walk to the subway. I need oxygen for activity. When I walk, I desaturate. But at rest, I'm normal. I'm normal now. My saturation is as good as yours. But I'm lucky. And at this point, I don't use oxygen when I sleep, but I'm due for another nighttime oximetry test. And if I fall below 90, I get it when I sleep. A lot of people have it when they sleep and don't need it when they're awake. It's a mistake to think that having emphysema makes you inactive. I'm very active. I go to the gym, I lift weights, I do a morning stretch and strengthen routine. I'm independent, I live alone, I travel, I take my tank with me. I mean, my life is good. And you have to exercise. That if you stop, there's a bad circle if you stop, if you become sedentary. It's very normal for someone who has difficulty breathing, because it's harder to walk and it's harder to exercise. And if you become really sedentary, your disease is going to worsen, and you're not going to be able to maintain it. You have to fight the disease by exercise. It's the best thing. And eating, and not eating junk. You have to eat natural foods. You know, I basically try not to eat anything in a box. You know, hard-boiled eggs and oatmeal is okay because it's natural food. But I try to eat, you know, very nutritiously, and lots of salads and fruits and meat and fish and, you know, stuff. But your diet and your exercise should be part of your lifestyle.